So what I want to do now is just show you how to shuck an oyster, which is how to open an oyster. A lot of people are very nervous about opening oysters. There's a couple of wee knacks that make it really easy, and it's probably the biggest barrier between getting our oysters to customers. People going, oh, I can't open these at home. So this is really good information for you, okay? So just when you get your oysters, ideally they should be all packed with the deep shell underneath. The deep shell is like a little bath, keeps all the liquid inside, and they'll keep like this for about 2 weeks from packing date. If you leave them like this, the water leaks out slowly, and after a day or two they'll dry out and open up. And even if they don't die, when you open them, they're all dry inside, and it's not very appetizing. So if they're not in a box like this pre-packed for you, when you bring them home, put them in a pasta bowl or something like that in the fridge to keep the same temperature as dairy, really. So 2 or 3 degrees is perfect. And deep shell down. They will actually keep for about a month or longer, but there's no real need for that. But you should get 10 days, no problem out of your oysters. Okay, so opening the oyster. There's a deep shell and a flat shell, and on the deep shell there's kind of a nose, okay? And just underneath that there's a little space where you can put the oyster knife. So just in here, okay? Don't hold it in your left hand, put it down on your breadboard, so that if the knife does slip, you're not going to do any damage. And you just twist the knife over and back like a screwdriver until it kind of catches, goes in about an inch or half an inch or so. So it's like a lollipop, like this. All right, and at that stage you can pick up the oyster. If you just give that a twist, oh, there, you hear a wee pop, and the oyster opens up. Sometimes there can be a bit of sand or grit there, so just clean the knife first. On one side of the knife's got a sharp edge on it. The oyster's attached to the shell about halfway down the side here. So insert the knife there, and keep the knife nice and high. Twist it and wiggle it down, so just where my thumb is there, you're just rubbing the knife against the top shell. Ideally, when you open an oyster, it should look as if the top shell has just as if the top shell has just magically disappeared. You don't want to interfere or mess up the meat too much. So there's a little bit of new shell, just there, okay? A bit there as well. So there's the oyster, and we just cut it away from the top shell. See the little dark mark there? And it's full of liquid as well. So that's a good sign when you get your oysters, they've been stored correctly. And then you need to sever it from the bottom shell in the same place as well. I'll just make sure it's loose. And that's it, that's ready to go. You can see there's plenty of seawater, and it's called oyster liquor because the oyster's been in that water for, could be a couple of days. So the seawater is a special part of eating the oysters. But if you take the whole lot together, it can overpower the taste of the oyster. So what I would recommend people is if you sip the water first, especially if you haven't eaten an oyster before, sip the water first and see how that is. And if you think that's grand, then go ahead and eat your first oyster. And if you don't like that, then maybe stop. But at least if you get that over with you, it's kind of start. The next thing is don't swallow the oyster, chew the oyster, because there's so many different flavors in the oyster, and you won't get them if you just swallow it back. I think people used to swallow oysters years ago because they were so nervous, the whole experience. But chew the oyster, and there's loads of different flavors that will be unique to an oyster from Carlingford or from Donegal or anywhere else that your oysters come from, and you'll appreciate all those different flavors if you chew your oyster. So I'm gonna do that now. If you want different dressings for your oysters, if you had a range of different oysters from different bays, I would recommend just try at least one with nothing on it so you can taste the different flavors. If you put a dressing on them, you won't taste the subtle nuances in the oyster. But a squeeze of lemon is lovely on oysters, something simple like that. Drop of Tabasco. Some people think Tabasco is, too strong, but actually, whatever parts of your tongue taste Tabasco, it's different from the oyster, and you can taste the oyster straight through the Tabasco, and it's a lovely combination. Another recipe that's nice is if you can make a mignonette, shallots and vinegar and sugar, and that's really nice with oysters.